Hey everyone, welcome to our free training. I'm Chris Scott, founder of Fit Recovery, and I'm joined today by my colleague, collaborator, Chris Engen, who is the founder of Nutrition for Recovery. So Chris, thank you so much for doing this with me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that we've collaborated on this very important program to get out to our separate communities.
The title of this free training is Proven Supplements to Help You Break the Addiction Cycle. And I think that's worth thinking about just for a second, because I know that not everyone's goal is to commit to permanent abstinence right now. A lot of people may just want to adjust their use or experiment with drinking less, or maybe just start to see how they feel when they repair some basic nutrient deficiencies or start thinking about their progress differently. It's important to break the addiction cycle, regardless of what your goal is. And I am not a zealot for any particular dogmatic view of recovery. Everyone has different goals. So once again, I'm Chris Scott. I'm the founder of Fit Recovery. I'm the co-host of the Elevation Recovery podcast with my good friend, Matt Finch, and the creator of Total Alcohol Recovery 2.0, which is my flagship recovery course online community. We have hundreds of people in there. We've had 2,000 people actually go through that course and hundreds of still active members. And I'm a professional member of the Alliance for Addiction Solutions, which is an organization that helps people use nutrient repair, or as they say, biochemical restoration, in order to enhance their recovery.
And I am Chris Engen, a board certified holistic nutrition consultant, and I'm a certified recovery nutrition coach, level 1 and the advanced level 2, and that's from the Academy for Addiction and Mental Health Nutrition. As well, I am a former board member and currently on the advisory board of the Alliance for Addiction Solutions. Let's talk about problem drinking. Erodes your health, vitality, and longevity. Your relationships possibly are strained or harmed, those with your loved ones, your friends, your family, your spouse, your partner. Your energy, strength, mental clarity are all sapped. You're not living your best life. You're isolating and maybe hiding from life. Perhaps you're trapped in a destructive spiral. One that's not there that I will add is the feeling just shame and guilt all the time, feeling like you have to apologize to people, even if they don't know what happened. You know.
One of the reasons I often refer to the predicament for people who struggle with problem drinking as a catch-22 is that there's a lot of pain involved in continuing the problem drinking. And yet it's really scary to think about changing that. Change is always scary, but especially when you've potentially gotten to the point where you're physically dependent on something, or when you can't figure out how to break the cycle of using it sporadically. And every time you do use it, you totally lose control. So there are a lot of fears that are common, contemplating making a change, even if you're just contemplating adjusting your use. People are afraid of withdrawal. I was definitely afraid of withdrawal. I'd had painful withdrawal experiences. Even if you don't have withdrawal, you might be afraid of how to deal with cravings or depression or anxiety or the loss of self-efficacy that might happen if you really commit, give your all to making a change, and then you fall flat on your face. I think we kind of subconsciously have a tendency to fear losing respect for ourselves. And I certainly did. I had a journal filled with vows, like signed contract style promises that I would quit drinking or adjust my use. And I also, in that same journal, I had other goals, fitness goals, academic goals. This goes back to college, professional goals. And I would knock all those down like dominoes. And yet the drinking, I just couldn't figure out. That kind of leads into how we know that this is a biochemical issue primarily. And it is not a moral failing, but we still have these fears. In this picture in 2010, I was in a really bad spot after about 10 years of drinking way too much and being on this roller coaster that I had no grasp of. I had always excelled in school. I'd excelled in work, worked on Wall Street, and later managed a tech company for a little bit, went back into finance. I couldn't seem to get rid of my drinking problem, no matter how much success I had on the outside. And I was physically deteriorating. I was about 35 pounds heavier than I am now. I still don't know whether it was water retention or fat or edema. I had an inflamed liver, probably an inflamed pancreas. I had horrible fatigue. I was either depressed and anxious or drunk. This got super out of control once my natural baseline became drunk. So I did end up enrolling in a professional detox center, and yet there was something missing. So I had these cravings. I had this internal tug of war. I couldn't sleep, which is a huge problem. I had anhedonia, which is pleasure deafness, which meant I couldn't enjoy things like exercise or eating food as well as I should. Even as my body began to recover from the abstinence, I later discovered abstinence alone is not enough. And I had horrible fatigue and anxiety that was almost as bad as when I drank. I just felt a little bit less insane than when I drank, but I knew there was something definitely missing.
Another reason why we came together and connected was because our stories of how we drank were quite different, yet we ended up at the same solution with biochemical repair. For me, I was an intermittent binge drinker dating back to high school. I never learned how to drink like a regular person, if that's something other people learn how to do. I didn't even know it was a thing. And the binge drinking went from weekends in high school, what I thought was normal college drinking. I thought everybody blacked out. We would laugh about it. Oh, what happened last night? That was somehow funny. And certainly, of course, I surrounded myself with other binge drinkers. So really did not know anything different or have any of that immense regret that I describe at kind of the end of my drinking, the regret, the guilt, and the shame. That didn't happen through, my 20s or 30s, honestly. I still just kind of surrounded myself with people that were binge drinkers. So I didn't really see it as a problem. Never physically addicted. I, like you, also very successful job, lots of promotions, high-level athlete. And it is kind of I would say it was like my best kept secret towards the end, for sure. But even when out drinking, binge drinking with people, it's not unusual for people that are marathon runners or triathletes to binge drink. And then the next day, it's the whole compensation of, oh, well, it couldn't really be that bad if I just ran 10 miles. That whole juggling of checks and balances is so exhausting. For me, again, it got worse, as it does. Then when I decided I did want to stop drinking, even though I wasn't physically addicted, I thought, gosh, this isn't going to be a problem because I can go long amounts of time without drinking. But then I couldn't. I still wanted to binge. And that was just baffling to me. And what the heck? Why can I not stop this cycle? And I was just reaching for something for that missing piece. But thank God, what finally led me to it was nutrition, of course.
So now you have a bit of a understanding of what Chris Engen and I went through and our different stories with a similar problem, the same substance. So the question is, how did we recover? And the common denominator is that we both discovered nutrient repair, which should not come as a surprise to you right now. We've already, we'll spoil that in the beginning. But today we're doing something we've never done, which is we're sharing our supplement lists. And again, that comes with a disclaimer that this is not a blanket endorsement of these supplements for everyone, but I think it can be really illuminating to just know that we use these particular supplements. And there is hope if you can relate to our stories of, in my case, spending tens of thousands of dollars, like $60,000 on rehab, and Chris's experience trying all of the things and various therapies, which can be valuable if you have that biochemical stability in place first, but not knowing that because it's not mainstream and it really should be. So anyway, a quick disclaimer. Once again, we're not doctors. We're not sharing this for you to do our exact protocols, but we do want to share them. So in my case, these are the supplements that were most helpful for me in early recovery. So this is after I got out of inpatient rehab. And the first thing I did actually was I went to GNC because I wanted to get jacked and get back into shape. And they had told me that I was going to become addicted to exercise if I worked out more than twice a week. Go for a walk twice a week, but don't work out hard. You're going to get addicted to protein powder and you're going to become a narcissist who's obsessed with your physique, and you'll have a family one day and you'll miss the dance recitals because you'll be on the treadmill. So that was the kind of thing they were telling me. So anyway, I said, screw it. I don't believe that. I want to get back in shape. I want my physique to be a symbol of my recovery and my transcendence of this problem. So that's what I did. And the first supplement I bought was L-glutamine, which is third on the list here. And I noticed the weirdest thing, that my cravings for alcohol were subsiding. I was detoxed off of alcohol, but I still craved it. So it was amazing to me that there was maybe a biochemical craving that could last for literally months after quitting drinking. It wasn't like just a problem that would plague me for a couple of days. It plagued me for months. And there seemed to be something about this L-glutamine powder, which is an amino acid, that helped. So I kind of immersed myself in the subject of nutrient repair. And I ended up taking liposomal vitamin C, a powerful antioxidant, 5-HTP and L-tryptophan, experimented with both. Those are serotonin precursors. I took high-dose omega-3 fish oil, is wonderful for the brain and the liver and reducing inflammation. I took magnesium, several different kinds I experimented with, but most drinkers are deficient in magnesium, and it's involved in hundreds of bodily processes, and it's necessary for the nervous system to function properly and for your brain to relax. I took DLPA. That was one of my favorite amino acids. It helps to naturally increase both endorphins and dopamine. I also took L-tyrosine, which is a bit of a more potent dopamine precursor. I think I mentioned before, I struggled with anhedonia, pleasure deafness, which can be the result of an endorphin deficiency. I also felt fragile and more sensitive to pain, which is a symptom, again, of endorphin deficiency, which in my case was very pronounced. And I also had lethargy and fatigue and lack of motivation. And those are symptoms of dopamine deficiency. So the L-tyrosine and DLPA really helped me. And I also wanted to repair my gut from years of crushing it with toxic alcohol. So I took probiotics and digestive enzymes. And at a later date, I discovered NAC, or N-acetylcysteine, which is a precursor for glutathione, which is the liver's master antioxidant, helps to mop up acetaldehyde and the other toxic byproducts of alcohol and do a myriad of other things. And liposomal glutathione is a similar supplement as that. Currently, there is an effort by the FDA to get rid of NAC, not because it's bad for anyone, but for reasons that we won't get into here. But liposomal glutathione is a decent substitute for that. So I want to mention that when we talk about nutrient repair, that's a subject that fits into the biochemical pillar of the overarching hierarchy of alcohol recovery. And I did have this graphic made, but I took it. It's basically an adaptation from Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the biopsychosocial spiritual model pioneered by Dr. Amen, who's a maverick psychiatrist who got tired of prescribing drugs for people without knowing what was going on in their brains. And he uses, interestingly, many of the same methods to help people with serious behavioral problems, including substance use, to help them recover. So he'll use supplements, he'll prescribe exercise, he'll tell people to work on their social skills or spiritual development. And I realized that that's the perfect model that should be used by all rehab centers everywhere. But instead, we have this lingering, highly dogmatic ideology from the 1930s, which does have some good stuff, but needs to be updated, to say the least. And now at the top of this pyramid, you'll see I have transcendence. That's the point at which alcohol becomes a totally moot substance for you. And each of these pillars have missing links most of the time for people. And these missing links will vary depending on who you are. No two people have the same missing links. My major missing link was really the entire biochemical pillar, because all I was doing was drinking for several years before, even at work. I would sneak out of the office to go to a Whole Foods that was nearby, and I would chug a beer or a bottle of wine in the bathroom stall. And so I really needed the biochemical help. But that's not to say that people who are sporadic drinkers don't need the biochemical help. I've actually had a lot of people who barely drink who have really benefited from the supplements that I talk about. But I also had missing links in the psychological pillar. I needed to reframe alcohol as a moot substance. I feel like the psychological pillar is where the vast majority of alcohol recovery programs online tend to start and end. And this is the reason the biochemical pillar is at the bottom, a need for biochemical support and optimization.
Nutrition and amino acids were the missing piece for me. trying all the things, wondering what was wrong with me. My self-esteem just shot. Lots of mornings hating myself, as I said, wanting to apologize to everybody. It did save me from the binge recover, even to the point that there's the biochemical piece of which neurotransmitter systems were out of balance. And where I learned that was with the Academy, of course, and then also Julia Ross, who wrote The Mood Cure, The Diet Cure, and The Craving Cure. She's the pioneer of amino acid therapy. She developed the charts that help determine which neurotransmitters are depleted. One of the main points was that we use targeted amino acids. And practical way to explain this to people, where I'll use the example tryptophan, because everybody I think mostly knows that tryptophan is found in turkeys. If you're depleted in serotonin, tryptophan is the amino acid that is a precursor for serotonin. If your glass is half full, if you're looking at this little image here, this is your neurotransmitter system of serotonin. Your glass is half full. Tryptophan can help bring it up to the top. Turkey has tryptophan. However, you would have to eat 3 turkeys to get the same amount of tryptophan as in one 500 milligram capsule of tryptophan. The point I'm making is that people will ask me, oh, well, what if I'm eating protein? Protein is made up of amino acids. Protein makes neurotransmitters. Food is not enough right away. When we're depleted, we need to target these specific depletion. I also discovered lithium orotate as you did. For me, it was very mood stabilizing. It's actually a nutrient that's used for people that are unipolar or on the bipolar spectrum. Very mild and subtle when used properly. And high dose fish oil, absolutely. I used 6 grams in early recovery.
Chris, thank you so much for joining me for this free training. It's been a lot of fun. And to all of you out there, if you have an inkling that this is the right decision for you, make that decision today. Join us in our courses. You will not regret it. Our passion lies in the communities we've built and fostering them, and in the information that we're sharing with you. So I hope you've enjoyed this. And we will probably do some podcast episodes and maybe some YouTube videos and some new stuff very soon. But the most important thing is, if you need help, then make sure you take action today, because as we all know, tomorrow never comes. If you try to keep making it your decision about tomorrow, then it's always going to be something you'll do tomorrow.